Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. Today I have a special breakdown covering the Bitcoin price. Instead of the long term, we're going to be taking a look at the shorter time frames of Bitcoin, mapping out level to level the ones that I think are the most important for you guys to be watching for where we can see the market be at shifting points. We're also going to be taking a look at the total market cap. We're going to be looking at how the market cap is currently sitting right at our last support, and this is going to be our major moment where we're either going to be holding for a reversal or we're about to see one more final leg lower. Guys, if at any point you find value in this video, please do me a favor, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. If at any point you want to see how I'm investing my portfolio long term, links are in the description to go ahead and sign up on my website. Now guys, inside of this video, I wanted to map a little bit about what we're seeing in Bitcoin because I'm noticing a lot of people freaking out, and the truth of the matter is we still have our support back down in here that we never went all the way back down to retest. And when I come down to the 4 hour, I actually see another level that I'm going to be watching for, and I'm not going to be surprised if we lose this support and make one more kind of flush back down before this correction is over. That's what it's looking like for me on the shorter time frames, that we're going to make at least one more move lower, and then from there that's going to kind of sort out our short-term direction. You know, obviously if we have a bigger flush below this, we break down and we have a much bigger capitulation. At that point, this is going to be looking like resistance before we make a much deeper pullback to the downside. But in the shorter time frames, you know, this is still holding support. This is still a higher high. When I'm looking at the shorter time frames, it does look like an impulse leading into our first little ABC correction. Now, at first I was thinking this was A, B, and C, but now it's looking like this is most likely A, B, and we're about to get one more lower low right here to finish wave C. So this is kind of what I'm looking at in the shorter time frames. If we are to see any sort of reversal out of this level, the thing I'm going to be mainly watching for is once we come back down and tag about 58.5, you know, 58.5 to even 59.5, somewhere right around that range, we need to be breaking out of this descending resistance, because up to this point we've just been trending below it all the way through, and if we're going to get any sort of breakout, we need to get outside of that move. So the two levels I'm watching for are mainly 58.5 to 59.5. If we get a bigger flush below 58.5, at that point I would expect that we'd be going for a lower low. But as it stands, this is the thing that I'm mainly watching for when we're looking at Bitcoin. Nothing has really changed. It's just looking like we're most likely going to see one more final low before this thing is over. But because we kind of finished out this final capitulation and we've regained that support, I'm not going to be the least bit surprised if this ends up being our first little impulse. And if this is our first impulse, we're going to be looking for a pretty decent move coming. This would be wave 1 and wave 2, and we'd be getting a wave 3, probably even up to like 80K, maybe even more than that. You know, pull back, come back down and retest those highs, and we'd still be looking for an even bigger move into a wave 5. We could be sitting at, you know, 100K pretty quickly inside of just this next impulse. And so no matter where that impulse happens, I think the next one's coming is going to be very, very impulsive. So we just want to simply be aware and prepared for that scenario, and then understanding that if we do lose this support coming out to a weekly time frame, this is the thing that I think is most important for really determining where we're going to end up bottoming at. So with Bitcoin, we've outperformed the rest of the market, and with Bitcoin, we don't really have any sort of real liquidity or support until all the way back down at, I guess you could say 48K, but mainly 48 to 50K. The very top of this lower high that we began our bear market, and then the very peak of where the ETF was actually confirmed, where we made that pump. So if we were to sell off in Bitcoin, I think we come back down to this level. There really just isn't any other support until we do hit that. So from where we're at today, from the very top to that level would be a 34% correction, very typical with bull markets. From where we're at right now would be about a 21% correction. So it'd be a pretty decent type of a move. Instead of us kind of making a 20% pullback here and a 20% pullback here, we'd be making 20% pullback here and then a 20% pullback here, all in one big sort of deep correction. So it would be a similar type of a move, although it would be, you know, all in one elongated sell-off. These were back-to-back 20% pullbacks. This would be a straight 40% drop. So that would be easily enough to shake out any sort of weak hands, any sort of over-leveraged positions in the market. But this is the only real support that we have. So if we lose where we're at currently, consolidating up in this range, then this is the level that we're going to be targeting, just looking at it from a weekly perspective. So really, guys, we're watching for 58.5, I guess you could say, right down in here. We're going to be looking at Bitcoin making one more final lower low, and then from there, if we're going to get a reversal, that's where it's going to be taking place. That reversal lines up with our inverse head and shoulder, and then that target gives us a target of that prior all-time high. So we have a couple scenarios that I'm mainly watching for. The inverse head and shoulder is going to be giving us a move into those prior all-time highs and even into price discovery. And then if we were to get a deeper flush, maybe we drop all the way down to like 57 or 56, sort of retesting this last capitulation. At that point, we'd be looking for shorts because this thing is most definitely going to be going for one more final low. So that's what I'm watching out for with Bitcoin. Wanted to dive into the shorter time frames, giving you guys an understanding of how to play this market, what to be looking for level to level, so that you guys are at least in the awareness of how to play it from here. So coming over here and looking at the total market cap, this is a very important chart I always tell you guys to be looking at because of the reason when we analyze the total market cap, it obeys levels to level a little bit better than Bitcoin. When we're looking at Bitcoin, it's just kind of consolidating up in here, but when we come out to a weekly time frame, it's all the way up above around those prior all-time highs, but it doesn't have as good of symmetry as what I see over here inside of the total market cap. Notice how the total market cap is already retesting the top of that lower high from the beginning of our bear market. To me, when we're looking at this could easily reverse right off of this level, and that's kind of been the real reason why I was expecting that Bitcoin was also going to reverse. When we're looking at the total market cap generally flipping a resistance and then retesting that resistance as new support, you're usually going to see it reverse off of that level. It's not always going to happen, but if we were to lose this level, we'd basically be looking at a move all the way back down to, let's get our line out here. I would say pretty much like 1.63 trillion. This would be flush with where we were consolidating at right at the ETF approval. This would be the support that we found at the beginning of that lower high, right? And then also when we were pulling back up the top of 65K per Bitcoin, it was kind of in the very top of this range that we were consolidating at inside of this bottom formation. It was at the top of that range also that we're going to be coming back down in contact with. So it's a very important level. There just simply isn't any liquidity until we come all the way back down to pretty much that range. So you'd be looking at another 20%. In the total market cap, you'd be looking at like a 25% drop because altcoins would obviously pull back even more. So I do notice that there's a lot of fear in the market. A lot of people are kind of anticipating that we're going to crumble and make this big sell-off. I've seen a lot of people in the comments a lot more bearish than I have in a long time. It makes sense. We've seen a pretty big pullback. But generally speaking, when I'm seeing the total market cap breaking above such a big level like that and then retesting it as new support, it would make more sense that it would end up reversing off that level. But we're going to have to watch and see. We still have 5.5 days until we get this weekly close. If we get a weekly close that takes us back below this level, then at that point we very easily could consider the potential of us making a big drop. But because of the fact if we lose this level, there's no real liquidity, it'd be kind of a rug pull in the short term before a lot of people would get kind of smoked here. So we just want to be aware of these things. So when we're looking at this and seeing the total market cap sitting on this level, if we're going to see Bitcoin hold support, it's going to be roughly where we're at right now, which makes sense because when we're looking at the price of Bitcoin, we can see that we're pretty much just consolidating right on top of that range that we were at 65K, where we ended up topping at, right? Because even though we went to 65K right here, it was three or four different sort of moves that closed below that level, right? And then we got that big pullback. So we were kind of making this rounded top type of price action here before that pullback. So right now we're just consolidating right on top of that level. Yes, we broke back below the $69,500 level, but regardless, this entire move is one big range in my eyes. So with us just consolidating right here on top of it, with us looking at the total market cap sitting on top of the lower high, there's a couple levels that I'm looking at that I'm just like, most likely we're going to hold as support. Even though there's a lot of fear, even though we're all panicking and it's, the market looks a little crappy right at this second, it always looks crappy right when you're approaching support. And that's just kind of the way the market works. However, when we're on support, you can't really get super bearish until we get a confirming move below that level or anything like that. And we haven't quite seen that up to this point. So I think that that's what's going to come this week. We're going to see what's happening. Overall, a lot of people are probably just going to be getting chopped out on the shorter time frames just because of the price action we're seeing. When realistically, the fact is we're just sitting on a support level. If we lose that support level, we'd be looking for a 20% drop to the downside. Total market cap 25% drop. Bitcoin 20. But until we lose that level, I'm still just looking at this being a retest before we get another move into new all-time highs. Like I stated, guys, when I look at the total market cap, I always like to look at it because it obeys these levels, right? When we were looking at the total market cap at the beginning of our cycle, Bitcoin had already made a pretty decent type of a move, and the total market cap was just consolidating right below this level. So we knew that, we weren't completely out of the clear because the total market cap was still below resistance. Bitcoin looked like it was doing good. It was above resistance and trending up. But we knew that once the total market cap itself started breaking out, altcoins were going to be doing well as a whole. So coming into this next move, once we broke out of this resistance, we went straight to the bottom of this resistance. At the time it was resistance, and so we obey level to level a lot more accordingly with the total market cap. It always has done this. And because we already had consolidated right back below that and because we spent all of that time kind of consolidating below this level, when we made this big breakout that we just recently went through, we smashed above the top of that lower high resistance, and we came all the way almost to the top of even our prior all-time highs as well. So for us to just kind of be consolidating right back down onto that prior support level, I don't find it as likely that we're going to lose this and then have to come all the way back down to the same level we are consolidating at. It is possible, and that is the only level that we're going to really have as support if we do lose support up at basically 2.2 trillion. So that's kind of what I'm watching for in the shorter time frames across the board. Big picture, guys, if we hold this support, Bitcoin is going into a very big move. Like I stated, I think that we're probably going to go for 100K in the next impulse. So next impulse, maybe we go to 100K. Maybe we make another big pullback, but I think this cycle is going to be very powerful. We're going to see a lot more upside potential than ever before because of the ETF, because way more institutional demand, because of on-ramps that we just haven't had, and all of the new retail money. It's going to be a fun cycle because it reminds me a lot of the same similarities of 2017, where we kind of had that perfect storm of retail adoption with new emerging technology and ways to buy different cryptos. We have so many different ways to buy altcoins. We have so many different ways to accumulate cryptos on-chain that we just haven't had in prior cycles. And to me, the opportunity is really getting into these markets, bridging over, using the software wallets and different things so that we can make a lot of money in the process. Because guys, if this really is the last retest that we're going to get, the last sell-off before new all-time highs, the next moves coming are always the most parabolic. This is where all of the retail money comes in, all of the altcoin profits start to take off, and a lot of altcoins have just spent a lot of time just kind of going sideways in their bear market bottoms, and they've just barely started to make their first impulses upwards. So in these next moves, we're going to make the majority of our profits. So we just want to be aware. I wanted to break down the levels, keep you guys a little level-headed. I know it can be a little concerning when the markets are selling off, when the markets look like they're going to, fall off a cliff. But as long as we're holding support, you got to just assume that we're going to continue to hold that support. As long as we're sitting on that level, it's a good time to buy in my eyes. If we were to get confirmation and a breakdown below, I'd obviously update you guys with that. But with Bitcoin and the total market cap, to me, everything looks solid. We're just going to have to watch and see what Bitcoin ends up doing in the shorter time frames. But guys, if you find any value, please do me a favor, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. For anybody that wants to see how I'm investing my portfolio, any signals across the board on any of the markets, links are in the description to go ahead and sign up on my website. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. As always, peace out.